Yeah, I agree 100%.
All right. All right. Good evening, all. Welcome to a special town board meeting. Please rise and salute the flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Hanlon,
Here.
Councilman Lewandowski.
Here.
Councilman Fazio.
Here.
Supervisor Moreno.
Here. I think Jim is on the Zoom.
He's on, I see him.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Whoa.
All right, what we're here for tonight is to start discussing on the short-term rentals. And we're gonna take questions from the audience. And we're gonna try to limit to about 3 minutes each so that we're not here until midnight. But we want to find out what's going on and what the feeling is. And the board will listen and try to give you a couple of answers if we can. We're not making any decisions tonight. We're just trying to gather information. And we're trying to give you information on what the way we're might be leaning on some of the stuff that what Mr. Niles has been working on for a couple of weeks now. So I'd ask you to come to the microphone, state your name, and we'll try to get it underway. Whoever's first in there.
I'm not sure I can keep. My name is Diane Powers, and I'm a resident and a business owner of short-term rental here in Luzerne. I don't know if I
Can you sit
keep-
down so you can talk into the mic more so we can all be, have a light?
I don't know if I can keep it to 3 minutes because I do have a lot to say, and I guess I've actually asked the board before if they'd like to hear some more information about short-term rentals and how to do it responsibly, but I haven't really heard back from anyone. So-
I answered you, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. I've heard from one person. Yeah. Okay, so basically I've been doing this full time for about 5 years. I've been doing it part-time for about 15 years before that. I grew up here. I have experience in hospitality and tourism. That perspective, I think, gives me a little different perspective than some other people. This area has been very well known for its tourism, and I do feel like that is my slant. I understand that the board does also have many other people to answer to, and I know that's probably a very difficult position to be in. There are residents, there are people here part-time, and there are people here who have businesses. I just think that the business contingent has not been heard from. And so I started to look at a little bit of this, and I understand that a lot of this issue seems to be around the secrecy around short-term rentals. I understand that a lot of these businesses are not registered. A lot of people have been doing this. Warren County initially did not have clear laws posted on their website. And I actually was one of the first people to contact Mr. Swan to let him know that. They had not updated their website to have proper information for people. That has since been corrected. And I do feel like there's probably no excuse for anyone to not be registered at this point. I do understand that that is a frustration of the board. It's a frustration of mine. We share that. It's a frustration of a lot of residents as well. However, I think that actually is part of the issue, is the secrecy around short-term rentals and the lack of information, the lack of transparency. But I'm proud of what I do, and I've been doing it for a long time. When I first came back to the area, and I did grow up here, I saw a lot of decay. I saw a lot of homes that weren't really being used. And I thought, that's not really helping Lake Luzerne. And it's definitely not helping Warren County. So I did ask for information after I registered. I asked Warren County to get a list and to get some more information about what the scope of the problem or the issue was here in Lake Luzerne. I was told that that's not foilable. In other words, I could not have access to that information. So was surprised to hear that Mr. Merlino had shared with the board and not only the town board, but also the planning board, some information that I was told I could not get. When I asked for a copy of that report, I was told that it could be given to me, but that a lot of the information would have to be removed. Addresses, owner information. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but anyways, that's what I was told. But it appears to me that a lot of the issue is not surrounding problems with properties. It's actually surrounding secrecy and it's unregistered properties. There is the requirement for short-term rentals to submit 4% bed tax, and that is supposed to go towards helping the promotion of tourism in this area. Specifically, Lake Luzerne does get between $40,000 and $50,000 a year. And it has historically, I've asked for some reports on that, and I've received some reports about how that money was spent. And I'm not quite sure what the process is there. However, I do think that instead of trying to figure out by shifting the responsibility and sort of the focus around, problems, I do think that instead we could be looking towards just getting some better compliance. I understand where Warren County is working on that. I do think that there is some readily available information, and I'm ready to help Luzerne and Warren County with that. I'm not talking about rents. I'm not talking about but I am talking about what guests actually spend in this area. And that's something that I've asked. And I asked in a planning board meeting if someone would actually be trying to quantify the dollar amount that's actually spent by guests in this area. I do have some of that information. So some of the data that I've compiled, and I know Mr. Bordeaux, who is, I think, an alternate on the zoning committee, has also spent some time researching some things. I do dispute some of his numbers. What I do see is that there appear to be 130 active rentals in Lake Luzerne, and they are on VRBO and Airbnb. And basically, if you're in this business, you're on Airbnb or VRBO. Some of the other websites, I mean, you're just not getting the search engine optimization that you need in order to do this well. So most of the ratings that I have are overall customer ratings of 4.74 out of 5 stars. So they're doing it very well and guests are very happy. 82% are rated 4.5 overall in accuracy, check-in, cleanliness, value, location, and communication with the host. Some of the motels and some of the cabins are also listed on Airbnb and VRBO. So the median size is about a 3-bedroom with 6.8 guests per booking. So the data that I've compiled shows that there are property classes that show availability, and most of your short-term rentals in Lake Luzerne are rented 80% occupancy for 90 days. So that's also very good. That says that they're doing it and they're doing it pretty efficiently. With most located near water, Lake Luzerne, Hudson River, and Lake Vinar. Folks like their water, and that's where they come to vacation. Luckily, Luzerne has not only Lake Luzerne, Lake Vinar, but also the Hudson River that serves as an attraction for guests. So it does also show that 90 of these rentals are actually rented for 90 days with an 80% occupancy rate. So if you have about 90 properties in Luzerne booked for 90 nights, you have 8,100 nights. Times an 80% occupancy, that's 6,480 nights. And the median stay is about 3 nights. That's 2,160 families that are coming to Luzerne for bookings. Those are opportunities to sell. These are people on vacation, and they're spending more than the average person when they're not on vacation. I have spoken to some of the local businesses, Jim from Luzerne Market. I've spoken to John Waterhouse in terms of fuel oil. What I've compiled is basically a spreadsheet of showing that the average stay is spending conservatively about $1,000 in 3 days. That includes about $100 in gas, conservatively $150 at Luzerne Market and groceries for 3 days for a family of 6. This is a family of 6. Donna's Farm Stand, Bailey's Liquor, beer convenience stores. Entertainment seems to be the big one. And in 3 days, easily, someone would spend $50 per person. So that's $300 to $500 in entertainment. They're at least going to do one of the following. They're going to Painted Pony Rodeo. They're going to Adirondack Extreme Adventure Tubing. They're going to Bonds. They're going to Bend of the River, SOC. They're horseback riding. They may be taking a class at Adirondack Folk School. They're doing Revolution Rail. They are going to eat out. They don't want to cook. They're going to spend about $100 at Rocco's, Moonstar Asian, or Harris General Store just to eat out. They are going to eat in at least once. That's about another $200 easily for a family of 6. They're going to Longhorn. They're going to Nettle Middle. They're going to Sweetie's Cafe. They're now going to Rockwell Falls General Store as well. There are services that they use. 40% of the rentals in this area do not, or only 40% have a washer or dryer. They're using the Luzerne laundromat. They're going to Country Girl for haircuts. They're using auto parts. They're getting massage at Amethyst Springs. They're also using Luzerne hardware. I have conservatively about $1,000 per 3-night stay that a family of 6 is expending in Lake Luzerne. If you multiply that by 2,186 customers or families, it's worth $2.16 million. That's conservative. If you use Mr. Bordeaux's numbers of 200 bookings or 200 properties, you can double that. So some of the things that I'm not sure everybody understands, but if you had that same property and you had it as a single family home, and that's one person or one family, you can expect at least 2,000 times that if it's rented out. Because like this weekend, I went to Revolution Rail and I went to Adirondack Adventure, but I'll only go once in 1 year. I won't go 2,000 times. Even if not every family is doing that, if they can expect at least maybe 30%, that's at least 30% of 2,000 times. I don't say that hotels or small cabins don't have their part in this vacation rental business. They do. But with a family size of 6.8 and they're traveling for 3 nights, you can, and with COVID, you can understand why a family like that would want to stay in a single family dwelling. Attracting people for the day, as I've heard from some of the town planning meetings, just really doesn't cut it. If people come in for the day, you're not retaining them. You know, you have to keep them here and you have to house them here. Otherwise, they will stay somewhere else and they will buy groceries somewhere else. When I spoke to Mr. Mackey from Luzerne Market about this issue, he was pretty unaware. He's very busy. He basically said to me, you know, Diane, do they not understand that some of the locals don't really shop here? They'll go over and because they're doing their weekly shopping, they'll go over to Hannaford. But someone who's staying for a couple of days, they are going to fill. And he said not 1, but 2 carts. So when I gave him my estimate of $150, he said much higher. He also told me that what they also do is they'll be spending much more on the higher margin goods. Things like, flip-flops and water shoes and tubes, that type of thing that he has much higher margins on, all sales taxable, which I believe in a previous discussion, Mr. Merlino had indicated that the sales tax dollars for Lake Luzerne are not down, and they are not. I'm not exactly sure why that is, because my data does not exactly split it out by business or by commodity type, but I don't know if you have the answer to that. Sales tax dollars in this particular quarter are up about 20% over last year. And overall last year, over the previous year, they were up about 18%. So one of the things that I had heard a lot of with, in terms of the legislation is, and the regulations, is safety. I'm not sure if there's any substantiation behind increased calls to guests of short-term rental properties versus actual year-round residents. So that's one thing. So I'm not really sure that that's really the issue. Again, I do fully feel like the issue is basically compliance with the ordinance for Warren County. So some of this data is available on AirDNA, and you can set up a free account, or you can actually pay for it and get an actual more in-depth look at some of the business of this. I feel like there was a lot of talk of zoning. And I do feel like, again, that would be an enforcement issue, and I'm not even sure how that really happens. But obviously the short-term rentals, they gravitate towards water. And so waterfront access and anything that's walkable is obviously ideal. A lot of the owners that I work with have reinvested in the community. Some of them live here, and they have reinvested in their properties. There are some reports that I had asked for, which were basically the Warren County contributions towards Lake Luzerne. It was roughly the last 5 years, and it was 40 to 50,000. And while that doesn't seem like a lot, that's why I felt like it was imperative that I present tonight to let you know exactly the dollars that guests are spending. It's not even towards rents. That 2.1, that is just in local businesses. That's in their entertainment, in their groceries, in their gas. That doesn't even take into consideration the rents. I did take a look at some of the reports about the distribution and the beneficiaries of the bed tax dollars from Lake Luzerne. I would like a little bit more information about that process and who decides who gets those dollars. They are supposed to be used to promote additional tourism and not improve the services to select groups of individuals in the town. The local businesses that I spoke to, they don't really understand where the advertising dollars are being spent and who is benefiting. And they don't completely understand how it's being used to further promote the area for more tourism. There may be a need for some input from them. I do believe that a lot of the short-term rental guests that come here, they are looking for a quieter vacation. They're not really looking to be obtrusive. They're more family friendly. They're looking for outdoor recreation. I know there still is a lot to do. I'm actually proud of the work that I've done in helping to promote the area and bring people in to actually benefit the town and to improve some of the properties within it. I believe there's still more work to be done. There are still quite a few properties that are black eyes. I won't specifically mention them, but I do know that the Adirondack Folk School was looking for an expansion. And I don't know if there was an opportunity to discuss that with them as to whether or not they would actually do another building or more in Luzerne. I do believe that if you want to support the businesses and tourism in Lake Luzerne, that you have to retain them for more than one day. You have to house them. As local municipalities are saying no to it, and I'm not quite sure why, maybe they haven't really crunched the numbers, but possibly they also have more options. They have more cottages, they have more motels. They may, Lake George has been able to attract Marriott. But whether or not future guests will choose that as their option is not really something that they can control. I know they spent a lot of money trying to promote this area. And I do agree with that. I think it's something that's always kind of been, it's always been something that's sort of a seasonal thing. Looking to expand the season is always beneficial. I don't think I have anything more, but I'm open to questions.
Diane,
Yeah.
the number of people that you said that in your presentation.
Mhm.
How many of those people have actually set up, they're nearby like yourself, taking care of their rentals and things of this sort?
That I don't know. I think, it would be very easy though to send an inquiry to these people who are listing and to find out. The information that I had just shows the listing, and it's pretty simple to figure out where
I
they
just
are.
wondered if,
Who's managing them, in other words?
yeah,
I don't know. And I agree with you, Paul. I think, years ago, it was easier to do it from far away. I think it's getting harder and harder, definitely, because when you have a 3-night stay, you have to be there more often. That's all. Yeah. And I think that's not a bad thing.
I'm assuming most of your rentals are what, Friday, Saturday, Sunday type of situation.
It's changing because of the fact that people are more flexible. They can work on their laptops, on their phones.
Okay.
They're working vacations. These people they're on vacation, but they're also working. A lot of
I
them.
very much know.
A lot of people are flexible. I mean, and it's sort of changing, and I think it's just that you have to kind of know your market and know who you're marketing to. I've been able to figure out with some minimum age requirements what I'm really going after. But also too, as things change, people are delaying having children. They're in their 30s and 40s, and they have a lot of disposable income, and they're willing to spend it. So why not here?
Are your rentals all here in town, are they?
Yes. Yes.
Diane, just a quick question. Do you have any numbers? I just use a long-term rental down in Delaware for vacation
Mhm.
on one of the beaches. It
When you
was,
said long-term, what do you mean by long-term?
I mean, a short-term
A
rental. I'm
short-term.
sorry, wrong term.
Mhm.
We got it through a real estate agency. How many around here are you aware of? Are there any handled around here strictly as real estate or both Airbnb and real estate? We had a chance to get it through Airbnb, but it was better through the real estate agency. Is that something common around here? That real estate agencies are property managing them, or is that not common around here?
I'm really not, I think you'd have to ask the real estate companies.
I just
in
didn't
the
know if you
area.
had those figures or
No.
knew about, and you being in the business, if you knew that. some
I
real
don't,
estate
I'm not
agencies-
aware of any around here that are being managed, but again,
I'm assuming you list both ways.
no, as a matter of fact, no. I list exclusively on VRBO,
On what?
Yeah.
VRBO.
Thank you.
Yeah, because where I was, it was very common. That's the only reason I'm asking. I'm very unaware if that's common up here
Mhm.
or anything. I was just curious if you had
Mhm.
any numbers on that.
So I'll go further, Mr. Lewandowski. The reason why I wasn't listing on Airbnb for quite a period of time was that it was more difficult to restrict based on age. It was more free and non-restrictive and a little more slanted towards the guest and not as host friendly. So they made some changes and now they're actually providing some additional insurance as well. So VRBO was one of the first to actually have property damage insurance as an option. And so now Airbnb is now understanding that as hosts, that's important to have properties protected. Although I have to say in 18 years, I've submitted one claim.
Does that insurance cover surrounding landowners too, Di, or just the property that you rent?
Just the property against any guest damage.
So y'all done today?
Yes.
I just wanted to see though, I don't know the answer. I think I do, but when you rent to somebody, you charge them sales tax too?
Sales tax is not on rent. No,
There's no sales tax
No,
on rent.
it's
okay.
occupancy tax.
So just that 4%
Mhm,
is what you
Mhm.
do, so.
mhm.
So,
And localities can add if they'd like. Right? Like, that is an option.
you charge
Well, I
sales
think
tax to
that-
your guests, Gene, when
I
they,
think that I do.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's not an option in Warren County. They have to charge sales tax and off tax,
Mhm.
no matter who does it.
I know my neighbor has a B and B and he charges 11%.
Yeah.
So I just was curious because I think you said 100 and something properties, but Gene, we said
Yeah.
that there was 300 and something, right? But only,
My
Well-
data showed 136
That's
active,
what they.
136
They have even
active.
less than that at the
So-
county.
Conservatively, what I used was, because the data that I showed was 90 properties that were the majority of the 136 were 90 properties that were available for 90 days.
but that's really not what I was going after. I'm going after if everybody's supposed to be charging sales tax, that tremendous amount of money that everybody's missing out on for that 7%. The 4% is one, but you also got the 7 as well. So to me, I think it's really important that we make sure we get everybody registered and enjoy that 7% that we're probably not getting. I mean, that could be an astronomical number if we're renting for all these room nights that you mentioned.
Well,
and-
my understanding is that New York State sales tax excludes any kind of bungalow that does not include housekeeping. And that's what I asked
Okay.
Mr. Swan 2 years ago, and he verified that. And I also asked New York State.
Gotcha.
So it is occupancy tax.
And just from my perspective, for being on the fire department and the EMS, to my recollection, we've never responded to a call where there's an accident or emergency or somebody did something stupid that was
Mhm.
part of an Airbnb. So I think from my perspective and my neighbor, you had people there every day of every week this year. It wasn't a problem for me. It really
Mhm.
wasn't, but not to say that there isn't, of course, but
So
I
the
think we're-
average, the average property is a 3-bedroom with 6.8, which is within the occupancy guidelines that you would be suggesting. There are other properties that are available a little larger, and sometimes that does end up being a little problematic. The more people, obviously, the more stringent I think that manager has to be, and the more on top of it the owner has to be.
Right.
But it's 90 out of 136 active
Mhm.
that are within that 3-bedroom
Right. So
group.
it's a pretty good number.
That's why I didn't even consider the others, but quite honestly, the others were, the 90 minus 138, there's another 4. And I looked at that and I thought there was another 1,000 opportunities. So, but I didn't even take that into consideration when I made my projection as to what it was really worth. Obviously the big thing is that, I'm not saying that people shouldn't buy properties and live here. I'm not saying people shouldn't buy properties and be here for 30 days. However, there is a big bang for turning this over. And it does substantially help this community. But knowing what they're looking for is going to be key. As we move forward, a lot of the municipalities, they're trying to regulate it and they are, but I think that a lot of the comments were that there just aren't the complaints, there aren't the issues. You know, to try to get everybody registered and pay the 4%. You know, the other issue for me is how is Warren County delivering? What are they using to give Luzerne the 40 or 50,000 that they get? Should that be more? What's it based on? There's a lack of transparency there as well.
Well, I can give you a little information on that. Basically, from the start of the OC tax, it was divided up with using the word 25% of the bed tax was distributed to the towns and villages. They gave a flat number to everybody, and like Lake Luzerne gets automatically 30%, 30,000. Get that every year. Last couple of years, we've been inching up. We get extra when it goes over a certain amount of money taken in. We just got a check, don't hold me the exact date, I think March, for another 20. And was from the money they collected for the first 6 months, for the last 6 months of last year. So that shows that, you know, we do make money on it.
Mhm.
But some of the other towns, I mean, some of the towns are not astronomical in the amount of money they get. I mean, the smaller towns, we get smaller amounts, larger towns get larger amounts. The only thing I have to check out on what you're saying about sales tax, I'm pretty sure now, I could be wrong, that when you sign up with the county for a permit, you have to collect both sales tax and OC tax.
You can check on that. I've already checked on that.
And Mike Swan told you no.
Yeah, and New York State told me no.
And I think that might be just a law that comes from the state, because I remember years ago, it was a ridiculous number, like 2.5 rooms, you don't have to collect the tax. How do you have a half a room? You know, I remember, you know, that was something from the
Well,
state.
even in the occupancy tax law, there is there's exemption for I have it right here. It's an odd wording and there's no definition for it. They define everything else except it's the exemptions are obviously charitable organizations, New York State government, and then there's like cottages, housekeeping cottages when there's less than 4 units.
Yeah, because they gave breaks to like cottages and things like that. But I'm gonna have to check that out tomorrow. I thought the county the county didn't want to get into the regulation of the rules of all the towns. They left them to the towns. So I'm
That
not.
would be a state thing. Wouldn't it? The sales tax thing would be a state.
Sales
On that
tax thing,
county, yeah.
we don't know any, even you ask Mr. Swan, he doesn't even know how much we collect.
Right.
Because like myself, I send my check of sales tax to the state, doesn't even go to the county. I send my OC tax to the county, so they can tell how much we took in every month in the county. But the state distributes it back to the towns by a percentage, but we never know if it.
What it is.
Collect 10 million, they only say they got 7 million. We don't know that. That's been a big problem for a lot of years.
No, I understand that.
And the other question, that star report, which one is that? I mean, is it for Airbnbs only or for hotels or motels or?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, there's a
Where's
star
my-
report that we use in tourism and everything, that tells what every hotel or motel or bed and breakfast takes in. The star report tells you. I don't know how you got those percentages. That's my question.
I just told
But
you. it
there's
was-
only 33, I'll say 34% of the businesses that rent rooms in Warren County are on Star. So it's a tough way to decide because I'm not on Star, but I rent 12 rooms a day. So
I wasn't looking at the star report.
what's that?
I was not looking at the star report. I was
Oh, I
looking
thought you
at,
said you had the Star report.
no,
that you
I
get
was
that.
looking at Air DNA, which is basically it's a marketing tool that basically a lot of investors would look at and short-term
Yeah.
rental investors would look
You know,
at.
we get a lot. I just handed out, I just got came in 8 o'clock Friday night, somebody asking the same questions that you were just saying, what kind of regulations we have and, it's so what's happening, and it's not that I'm not against it. I don't think any of my board are against Airbnbs. All we want to do is kind of regulate them for a little bit of safety, a little bit. So you're not.
Yeah,
you know,
my
You're not
concern,
hearing the phone calls that we get. Noise and parties going on 4 o'clock in the morning.
I patrol
you don't have that,
constantly.
do
I
you?
don't
Because-
see it. I'm constantly driving around Lake Luzerne. I just don't see that.
I should give you all the emails I get, and there might
Sure.
be some people in the audience that are here. Look what we have here, petitions, it's to signed by people that live in Lake Luzerne to stop this. I
I
mean,
think
we're
a lot of
getting,
the
this is
problem-
what we're getting.
I think a lot of the thing is this person here lives here in town. Okay, member of the community, and she's taking care of her investment. These larger corporations that are buying these places up and doing it, and there is corporations that are doing it. Okay, have nobody in the area to keep an eye on what's going on.
Just because they're titled as an LLC does not mean it's a
I'm not
large,
saying
okay.
title of an LLC.
Okay.
It could be a small. LLC.
Okay, it can be an individual and have multiple units. Live 2 hours away. And do it all by mail. And when these problems come up, have no idea what's going on. You being a person of the community. And keeping an eye on her business is a little bit different. And I think you have to agree with me.
I'm just not aware of any
Okay.
large companies buying up multiple properties.
Well, even if they are, it doesn't make them bad, right?
Yeah,
What
exactly.
we need to
As
do
long-
is,
As long as,
I'm saying that
I was just saying that there's still needs to be rules and
Yes,
regulations, no matter
yes.
who owns the house or
Yes.
whether they live here, there, or somewhere else. That, okay, here's a number and somebody has to contact person has to live within a certain amount of time. So if there's a problem, they can go and address it. LLC doesn't mean anything. If I
No.
bought a house to use, I would do it as an LLC, whether I live next door to it or 1,000 miles away.
Mhm.
That's just protection.
correct.
Has
It's
nothing to
asset,
do with anything other than that.
it's the smart way to invest in real estate, and anyone who does, I would encourage them to actually title it in LLC and get the appropriate insurance.
Absolutely.
But I wish everybody in this town was, and I'm giving you the credit, what you're doing is excellent. And watching your business, but we have a lot. How many, can you tell us how many you have? 2, 3? I think you have more than that, right? Okay, I won't.
How many do
push
you
for it,
have?
But you have a few, but.
I have enough. I have what I can
You have a
manage.
Few, but that's in that 100 that you say that we have here is
Mhm.
only what, 1%? So we have a lot of others that are not taking care of them as good. I wish we can, that's what we're
That's
trying
why
to
we're
do.
here,
here.
right?
That's
Yeah,
what we're trying to
exactly.
do
That's why
here.
we're
What
here.
we're trying to do here is to make everybody get a permit.
Yep.
All right, and everybody collect the proper taxes, whether it's just stock tax or and sales tax, I'll find out about that. And have somebody that we can call, like
Respect.
we could call
It's
you,
about
and say,
respect, right?
to your neighbor next door, just of one of your businesses,
Yes.
just called. There's a problem. Can you help us with it?
I would just also like to add, though, by virtue of actually selecting to live near water
You know,
or, in this area, which has a long history of tourism, even as a kid, right? We would complain about it at times, but I mean, we knew that was our bread and butter. Worked at Waterhouse, worked at Hidden Valley Ranch when it was Hidden Valley Ranch. I worked as a waitress. I've been an innkeeper. I run a restaurant. So I do think that slant towards hospitality and living here and being here, that's part of what we all know, but maybe some people don't have that slant. So that's why I'm here, just to represent that and just say that, it's been a part of this area for a long time. Certainly some of the properties that, are flanked by a hotel and they're on the river, and that is basically also, a tourist destination of the river. The state just put in $1 million boat ramp, a boat launch area. And that's going to be used by not just locals. So,
You can get in it Summertime. Yeah.
no, but
Look at our beach.
yeah,
as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not speaking for the gentleman next to me, but what you're presenting to us is what we all want.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yes, my
we
only-
want our business people, especially the small ones, to keep going and keep making money and keep their stores in there. I mean, we don't even have
Mhm.
I'll say a restaurant in town anymore. I mean, the restaurants have closed down because of lack of participation. Maybe because of COVID did most of that, I think, not the local people, but
Well, I did have an opportunity to talk to Dan Waterhouse as well about that, and he basically had expressed that, advanced age and the long history of his family doing it. He just it just wears you down eventually. COVID didn't help with employees and he couldn't get the staff
that's the
that he
big, that's the
needed.
other big one.
People didn't come out because they were told not to. So it's all of that.
Yep.
But he did also mention that short-term rentals were a substantial part of his business and why he was able to keep afloat for so long. My biggest concern and what I would talk to this board about is just that I felt like there was an underlying tone at some of the other meetings, the town meeting where it was, basically suggested that, regulations should be abandoned. And then Mr. Niles and Ms. Clothier had gone to the village or to Lake George and basically looked at some alternatives beyond regulations that would be like zoned against. And that I have to say is just too far. And I think that, that's when I had to say, you're shooting yourself in the foot by doing that. And I don't know how Warren County feels about that, but you've got Bolton, you've got Warrensburg, you've got Fort Ann, they've all kind of gone down this road. And I think if you do it and you do it well, there's some real opportunity to establish some kind of a nice niche.
Like
don't-
Supervisor Merlino said, that's exactly what we're trying to do. is Do it the
It's
right
really-
way
Okay.
and do it
We're
well.
not
Just have to
trying-
have the safety net
Yeah.
to weed out the problematic.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're
but
not
that's-
trying to
yeah.
stop them, because that's what I get hollered at for, because people say to me, well, you're trying to stop me because well, I've been for 38 years and my business is very successful, thank God.
Mhm.
But I totally different than what you sell.
Well, and things do change. I mean, Mr. Merlino's business was converted from a seasonal residence that the Ketchums at once owned. And that was converted into a short-term rental business. And then vice versa, then you have the Upriver Cafe, which was a business converted to a residence. So things do change. And, people have to do what they have to do to kind of, and the market changes. But I do have to say that I'm not a real estate agent, but I have passed the New Hampshire real estate. Never did it because basically that would have been also something that would have, I would say, restricted my ability to restrict based on age. But I would have to say that if, say, these 100 homes that are rented 90 days end up going on the market, there's a high probability, and you can check with a real estate agent, that at this moment in this market, they would be purchased by a second homeowner for cash. If short-term rental use as a single family dwelling was not allowed, they'd be purchased for cash and they'd be occupied probably 30 days or less. I live in the Heights. I just counted tonight. It's like ourselves and one other neighbor in a little circle of like 5 or 6 or 7 homes, and we're the only ones there. And then my 86-year-old neighbor who's there full time, and she wasn't there full time until last year. So those are what I say opportunities, underutilized assets, however you want to look at it. I mean,
Thank you.
I know they pay their property taxes, but it's not supporting the local businesses here.
That's a very good presentation, and I'd like to see some of those, if I can get some copies of those numbers, I really would
Mhm.
like to,
You can
Look
look them
into
up
it a
on
little bit.
Air DNA.
pick a
Mhm.
time and meet with us.
Okay.
But the point is, I just want to see some other comments
Yep,
here.
absolutely.
whether
Thank you.
they're
Thank you,
for or
Diane.
against.
Thank you,
Very
Diane.
nice thing.
I have a couple comments, Mr. Supervisor.
Yes. Mr. Niles.
The county list that we got of registered short-term rentals had like 34 on it, if I remember right. And then it was
Correct.
15 or 19 that were maybes. And our zoning officer was able to pick at least one of them that's inaccurate. So we're suspicious that that list is accurate. So, you know, I don't know what the numbers are. The other point I wanted to make is all of the other communities that have passed regulations like this have another concern that hasn't been mentioned, and that's the lack of community sense that short-term rentals can create. In other words, if you have a owner doesn't live here, who are the firemen going to be if we sell the whole town to short-term rentals? I'm being extreme, and that's certainly not the case. But it is an issue, you know, if a large percentage of our properties are sold to non-owner occupied, then it kind of dwindles the community spirit. The other thing that all the other communities are concerned about is when somebody purchases a property to convert it to a short-term rental, frequently they pour significant money into it, which is good and it's bad. It's good to have our housing stock, you know, kept up nice and so on and so forth, but it also prices a lot of local people out of purchasing a house if a significant percentage of the housing stock is, you know, fixed up really nice to attract outside visitors. And my last point is the very first paragraph of our draft resolution. In the middle of it says the board recognizes that short-term rentals can attract visitors to the town and can provide additional source of income to town residents. So although I so far am in favor of regulation, I am also very much in favor of bringing visitors and more money into town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rail Zubel, Lake Luzerne, lifelong resident. We saw short-term rentals coming 2 or 3 years ago. We started to take classes on it on the zoning board. And in my opinion, the short-term rentals are here and they're here to stay. A phrase that I like to use is education over enforcement. Here in town, enforcement is kind of it's a rough thing. And if there is a problem at night, and the people can't call the sheriffs and have the sheriffs come deal with a zoning problem, or enforcement's a problem. So I believe in education. For my living, I take care of short-term rentals in Lake George and Saratoga. I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I see the good and I see the bad. There is bad. I'll tell you right now, we've had the firemen in Lake George back down driveways over smoke alarms going off. It happens. It can happen to the regular homeowners as well. But I can tell you, when these people come, they come with a pocket full of money and they're ready to spend it. I think this could be an opportunity Lake Luzerne could jump on and be ahead of the game and have other communities follow us. Maybe we could take some of the bed tax or the occupancy tax money and hire like a short-term rental coordinator. Maybe we could put somebody on part-time to receive the applications and to go over the rules and the regulations with people that are doing it. It could be a part-time, not a huge paying job, but just somebody, if there's a problem, they can call and ask a question, somebody that's educated on it. Now, like when I say I see the good and the bad with the short-term rentals, when my renters come, I meet them and I go over the rules and we don't have problems. All the surrounding neighbors have my personal cell phone number. If there's a party at 2 o'clock in the morning, they call me and I go knock on the door and figure it out. I can go back to your question. You were asking if there are real estate companies that do it. There's a few around, and you don't get the security or the sense of mind that you do with like Airbnb.
I could see that.
There's a couple of them up in Lake George, and we experienced them with a couple of my clients. They book the people and you never hear from them again. with Airbnb, when the people break a window, you have a credit card. You know, when they jump on the hot tub cover, you have their credit card number. That's just my thought. I think it should be education over enforcement. I believe that these Airbnbs should have a point of contact, a 24/7 point of contact. Let it be the actual owner or a maintenance company that they can call at any given time. And I think the surrounding neighbors to each residence should also have a contact number right on their fridge. So if there's a problem, they can make a phone call. Because a lot of people feel like they're on an island at 2 o'clock in the morning when a car pulls in and people get like, they're not ready. I even go as far as some of my rentals where there's seniors next door. And if I know there's people coming at night, I'll call them ahead. And I'll say, hey, we have a group of people coming in. They're going to be late. They might be a little bit loud, giving you a heads up. People appreciate that. People just, everybody wants to feel special. Everybody wants to feel noticed. And when you can notify people and just keep a handle on it, it's not really a problem. Any questions? That's my opinion.
You're,
Well, exactly what we just said with Diane. I mean, she's running a great business. I'm proud that she can be in our town. But that's only 1, 2, or 3%. And like you're doing the right thing. I mean, that's what neighbors do to inform each other. But we have, and I probably can get you somebody back there to say parties go on at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. The police come and they say, well, there's no zoning. We can't stop it.
That could happen with
So-
people who live here too, though.
Yeah.
Wayne.
But
I mean, zoning,
Yeah.
it doesn't just affect short-term
Right.
rentals.
Well, I'm just talking about the problem. Yeah, neighbors, but neighbors can do it.
Sometimes it's
one
good that
night.
you know they're only gonna be there for 3 nights, because if they're idiots, they're gonna be gone in 3 days.
Wow.
You get a bad neighbor that lives there for 30 years, then you're stuck with them, you know.
It's
Yeah,
about
that's true.
establishing relationships with the neighbors. And not all my clients' neighbors like me. You can't make everybody happy.
Yeah.
You can
Believe
try
me,
your
I know
best.
that.
I answer my phone when they call. I take care of everything I can humanly take care of. But there will be problems.
Yeah.
But
And really, you're not here to say that you don't think there should be regulations or rules. You make a valid point. You're doing a great job, but it doesn't mean that you wouldn't need the safety net of some documentation or legislation to back you
Yes,
up.
I think
Because
there needs
without
to
it, you're just a guy with an idea.
there
right?
needs to be a
Right.
strict set of rules for people to follow. There has to, I don't think changing zoning is the right thing. I think to change the zoning of a community that's been established for decades to target one thing, it seems like spot zoning.
Well, it's putting the cart in front of the horse, in my opinion, because
Yeah,
you
I
haven't
mean,
done the right thing to begin with. Why are you
maybe,
gonna?
like I said, if we could hire a temporary person to do it, maybe the rest of the communities will look at us and say, wow, let's do what Luzerne's
Yeah.
doing. Because everybody's having trouble with it. It started really bad out in Tug Hill
Yeah.
with the snowmobiles, and
Snowmobiles,
that's like out west, that's where like the short-term rentals kind of came to a head. And for the past 2 years, we've been taking training on it. And it's been available. It's coming
Where do you take your training?
right online.
Oh, okay.
You have to take training to stay on the zoning board. You have to get a certain amount of
Oh,
hours.
I
every
thought you
year.
meant for your job doing. the
No,
short-term
no.
rental.
And I believe in education. People will work with you, just like that lady that was here. She's ready to work with you and she takes care of hers. And unfortunately, we're hearing about the bad ones.
That's all you ever. hear.
That's all you ever.
You always hear the bad news.
Yeah,
You never
you're
hear
not-
good news.
But there's ones in Lake George where people are spending $3,000-4,000 a night with 7-day minimums. And they don't even blink an eye.
Mm.
And that really helps the community.
So
That
your
allows people-
proper property manager, someone to handle it. I believe that's an angle we're working on. There's something we're working on to that immediate contact. Not, I'm in Long Island. I don't know what to help you. That's
I don't
not gonna
care.
go
Just
good.
Send the money. You know, that's
It's not
the
gonna
right
go
attitude
good.
to have.
Some of the houses I take care of up there, the owners will come up once a year. And that's it.
But you're there. You're right there.
I'm there I think 24.
As it should be. You know, that's good.
One specific house next door I take care of, they don't have a property manager. It's a zoo. There's bottles in the lake, there's beer bottles in the boat. But we had people drive across our lawn in a rainstorm. Cost $40,000 in damage. Airbnb's insurance picked it up.
See, this is as a group here, this is the stuff we hear, the
Mhm.
bad end of it,
Oh, there's definitely, I mean,
okay?
there's going to be problems, but we
And
just have to be. ready
What
for
industry
them.
doesn't have them though? It's what you do to circumvent them and eliminate them that, or to an extent, eliminate as many as possible. That makes the difference.
I don't believe there's anybody on this board that wants to eliminate the Airbnb or the short-term rental situation.
But
I agree.
this can be your guys'
Huh?
chance to just take over and let all the other communities follow us. And that's all I
Awesome.
have.
No,
Thank you
great.
guys
Thank you.
for doing
Thank you,
this tonight.
Rail.
Thank you, Rail.
Yeah, I have two comments about Rail's comments. First of all, I think most of, if not all of Rail's comments are incorporated at some form in our rough draft. So, you know, we have a rough draft we can include or not include stuff. And the Tug Hill, I read an article about the Tug Hill, I forget the name of it, you know, the water park in Old Forge.
Water safari.
Yeah, I read an article where that guy actually built housing to attract employees. He built housing on that water park grounds because there was so many short-term rentals that it was driving up the price of affordable housing for the people in the area. So he built housing. I don't know if it's true, but I read about
He
it.
built a campground out behind it, Jim.
Yeah,
Yep. With how little huts or whatever you call them, cabins and stuff.
are they just summer huts or are they year
No, he
round?
rents them all winter too for snowmobilers. I know a couple people that have them all year long. They're
Yeah.
all,
Well, can I just make, Jim, you did a great job in this proposal with all these yellow things and everything else, and it's really time for us to sit down and try to make, you know, As and Bs and Cs columns that we'd like to try to get regulated and fixed, and then bring it back to the public again and sign yes, no, and see what they say. But no, we're not here to close them down. We never have been. It's just that I can give you plenty of instances. There's a house on Pleasant View, and that poor gentleman actually sold his house because the house next door, they would rent to these high school and, you know, freshmen and college kids on weekends, and they'd come in, supposed to only have 6 there, and they wind up with 20 or 30 parked, the cars parked down the street. And he got tired of it and sold his house. That we
but
don't
you
want- we
can't
don't want
blame the
people
industry for
leaving.
that, June. I take that as my fault or our fault as collective because we have nothing in place to mitigate that. Right? I mean, that's not the owner.
So that's the object of us. doing this.
Absolutely. No, I know. That's what I'm saying, but it's
Right.
not, you can't
Well, that's what we're
damn
trying,
the
we're trying to
whole
get this, so we have a
Airbnb
little,
thing because of
little
that.
control on it too. I wish I had a lot like you, Marianne, and you, Rail, I know you a long time. I know you're saying what you're saying is right. But not everybody does it. And you get that half a dozen here and there and 5 houses around them are not happy. And what we're getting now is people that I'm getting, and you gentlemen getting too, they're calling up and say, well, the house next door just got sold. And we heard they're gonna make an Airbnb out of it. What can we do? Well, you know, we have to do something. We can't just sit around and just keep having meetings like this. We, as a board, has to sit down, come up what we feel is the right thing to do, present it to the people, and let the people say, no, don't do this one, but do these two. And maybe we all can sit down but we have to get it done. It has to be done before the end of this year.
And I don't think for a minute, and I'm not going to speak for Diane or Rail, that neither of them don't want us to do this. Right? You want us to do it that way. It protects your livelihood and your livelihood. Right? If it just goes Wildcat Hotel where people do whatever they want, it's going to come to an end at some point in time. But doing it correctly and having what we're doing, what Jim put together, that's the path to success. Not just saying whatever happens, happens. Sorry about your luck. That's the wrong attitude to have. And that's where we are right now.
How about you back there? You have anything to comment on for us? We'd like to hear it, really. We're not looking for bad or good. We're just looking for comments.
You know, just talking about, my name is Mary Rapido and I'm on Pleasant View, and I'm not familiar with that any house being sold
Hmm.
because they had problems with an Airbnb.
Oh, this was about
That's
2 years
interesting.
ago. Yeah.
I've been there for over 30 years. You know,
This
we're
gentleman was
year-round
so
residents of-
troubled.
We're year-round residents of Lake Luzerne. We have an Airbnb. We also own the home next to the Airbnb, so we're always there. And we have made improvements to the place. In fact, we're year-round residents only because we have this opportunity to have this Airbnb. that's allowed us to stay in the town of Lake Luzerne. You know, we were only here seasonally. Before that. Actually, we were married in holy infancy over 30 years ago. This is our home, okay? And we're here now year round. We're retired because we have an Airbnb.
And you
No.
maintain your property and you maintain the people that come there. So this is what we're talking about.
Yes,
You know, you
exactly.
do it already. You don't need rules and regulations from us, but there are people that we have to do rules and
Right.
regulations.
I think we are in agreement that there does need to be some regulations, but not heavy regulations, well thought out, the balance between people that don't have Airbnb, people that do. As far as the sense of community, we're in a situation that the place that we are renting is only a summer resident. It could not be used as a year-round resident. It just doesn't make sense. One of the other things is, one of our concerns, I'm not sure if the board has discussed time limits as far as how many nights people have to stay. But you're not gonna allow one night stays or 2 or 3 or 4. That's a critical thing for us because the way Airbnb works, will block out 4 days from, it's not just weekends. We're not, a lot of times, someone will come in on a Tuesday, leave on a Thursday. Come in on a Thursday, leave the next Monday. So it's all over the board and it leaves blocks of days, like maybe there's people that blocked out Monday to Wednesday and then Saturday to next Monday. So we got a 3-day block. Sometimes we can't fill. Well, we've been very lucky with that. We have been able, I think our occupancy rate is 95%. But that's, people come in and say, oh, we got 2 days right here. We'll never fill. All of a sudden we get a call, fill. So that's critical.
Most of your nights, are they 2 or 3 nights?
It really varies, you know.
Well, on an average, say.
4 and 5. We've got a lot of, you know,
Yeah.
definitely 4 and
3,
5.
4, 5.
Yeah.
That seems to be the
But
range.
we could book, we could book a month, you know, if I've had people who've inquired about that, but we like to maintain our property. We still have gardens over there. I have, you know, deadheading of flowers and pruning of trees, mowing the lawn. During the summer, you do that more than once a week.
Right.
So we don't really, our preference is not to rent. We like to rent out for the 5 days, the 4, you know, that's what we prefer. And honestly, that really brings in the money. I mean, we see the receipts. These people spend. We're amazed.
Yeah.
I mean, they're always coming and going, you know, and it's,
I agree with you on that one because my neighbor's house and the cars are never in the driveway. If they're not home at night cooking or swimming in the pool, they're gone. And I ask them what they do and everything that Diane said is exactly what they recite to me. They're out spending money, enjoying our area.
And then we have situations where, especially like ours, the Airbnbs offer young families a vacation. So we've had people that, you know, mother and father and 2 kids, love the water. They spend all the time there. They would not have that opportunity to have a vacation like that because if we didn't offer it.
Right.
Because it's a home atmosphere. We've had people come in, feels like home in one day.
and a lot of people that do come to our place are familiar with this area. Maybe they themselves have vacationed here as kids. So it's not, it's really is a sense of community too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, you're hitting on all the points that I can agree with you 100%. And like we've talked about in Lake George, the big hotel there, they're actually complaining because midweek is falling off. But the people are taking rooms in your place
Right.
because we see it with the bed tax right now that it keeps going up. So when it's not going there, it's going here. And so we want to keep that going. And exactly what Mary Ann said, it helps our town. It helps our little stores. It helps keep employees. That's the only other problem we have in this town. And I know the county we're talking about buying a big hotel that's dilapidated and putting money in and be able to rent rooms to workers. Because that's what we also need in the summertime. I mean, we get a lot of foreign students come in, but we need places, people that want to work and stay in town to work, to live.
What I would be interested in, I know, hopefully by the end of this, evening, you'll be able to tell us what your thoughts are. You know, where are you leaning? Like even far as regulations, I mean, definitely, I think everybody should have smoke alarms, and whatever else, safety regulations in place. But what else? Because I know there have been many meetings and I'm hoping to get some feedback from you also. What direction are you going? What are you thinking now as a possibility to control this in the town of Lake Luzerne? That's what I would like to hear by the end.
It's tough for us
Yeah, I wouldn't
because,
think the right word is control.
yeah.
I would say monitor
Right.
and finesse some groundwork that would help everybody succeed, especially the people around these. But I have no interest in controlling anything.
Well, I mean, especially when you few people that came and talked, I feel more comfortable. I mean, we have a lot of people that just don't want it and they don't know why they don't want it. They're just afraid of it, I think. And if, like you said, if there's education and the neighbors can find out who they can call if they got a problem instead of police all the time, and start a program like that, it could help all of us.
Yeah.
And we could all mingle and work together.
Yeah.
As long as there's a balanced approach.
Yeah.
takes
And we've
everybody's-
never started out to say, some people want us to change the zoning and don't allow it here or there or there. That can't happen because if it's there now, even if we change zoning, it starts from that day. You can't kick everybody out of there and say you got to sell your house because we changed zoning. But that's all we want to do is compromise, and we can do that. And, these meetings will go a lot better, and I think we'll accomplish something from it.
And I think tonight was fantastic. I mean, you guys all brought perspectives that nobody's really ever talked about, that I haven't been to every single one of them. But this has been excellent from Rail to Die to you guys. It's
Mostly the ones
It's
we've
been-
had in the last month or so, it's been more on the negative side. We're hearing all the negative stuff, which we hear every day anyway, but so if we can just team that down a little, we have to put some kind of regulations in.
we got to find a path.
And
There's
it's
a
gotta
path,
be,
right?
the right way. We don't want you to paint your house. We're not gonna regulate that you can paint your house white, we're just looking, we have problems also, and because I hear it every day with the garbage pickup. Some of these Airbnb, there's nobody taking control of it. They'll have 8 cans outside, bags all over the place, and don't realize we live in a place that have bears and deer and everything. By the time you get out the next morning, all the garbage is strewn all over the street.
Or they'll put them out on a Wednesday and the pickup's on Tuesday.
Right.
So it's sitting out there for that whole week,
Yeah.
unprotected. And like Gene said, it gets all over the place or,
And
you know,
that's
And
what
this happens all the time.
absolutely.
So those are the small problems that make us a big problem, but for everybody else, it's a small problem.
Diane, thank you very much.
Gotta come up, guys. If these guys were done, did we rush you off or no? Okay, thank you.
A couple of things. Garbage is an issue, but it's not.
Is there a way for someone else to speak?
Maybe it's someone
Yeah, we'll-
else's.
We'll get
All
to
right,
you.
all right, we'll get to you.
I've been waiting patiently and
Yeah,
just,
All
someone
right,
speak.
I'm
yeah,
sorry, I apologize for that. Go ahead.
Garbage, in my opinion, is more of an issue. I know this is not going to be popular with people who are here seasonally and they're not here all week. They're not here on a Monday. And so their cans are out too early. Animals get into it. We've had skunks, we've had all kinds of wildlife. The garbage is all over. I sent some pictures. Some of it was short-term rental, others of it were what I would say are residents, and they're seasonal residents. They're not here to bring their garbage cans back in.
I've seen that
So
myself.
they're rolling around
Yeah.
all of the
We
heights.
get that.
I've seen. that.
Just in terms of that as well, sometimes it's occupancy is overboard as well for those people who are here just for the weekend. And there's 8 and 9 cars there. So parking is an issue. Parking is tight up there. Parking in the street is not supposed to be allowed. That is a local ordinance. Some of this stuff though gets redundant, like even in terms of the way we kind of our signage. and I do have to mention it because it's just been in my claw. There is a sign on the beaches that say the beach is closed. I've had, even when I'm walking, I've had people stop me who are going to kayak and use the boat launch. It's basically saying, no, no, no. But am I wrong in saying to them that yes, they can launch a kayak or a boat on Luzerne? So
I
the
don't
sign,
think we
the
have
sign
those-
is redundant.
We got 8 minutes before we gotta change
All
the
right.
disc. So
The sign is, the signs are redundant and it's almost too much. It's uninviting is all I'm saying. If the sign on the public beach, and last I knew it was still a public beach, both of them say that it's closed to swimming when there's no lifeguard, there's no need to add another sign that says beach is closed. It's uninviting. And I do feel like sometimes we get one chance with guests. When we get tourists in the area, we get one chance. A lot of these people do end up buying, they do end up staying. My average guest age is like in their 50s. So some of them end up retiring here. But when we are uninviting, that's really bad. That discourages tourism in this area. And I'm just saying that I heard a lot of public comment during the town meetings about the fact that they would like to see that second beach up in the Heights become not a public beach. And I don't even know where to start with that. I mean, that's just something that
That's the first step.
is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I know it's not, but I'm just saying that kind of stuff is not going to help.
All right, thank
Okay.
you.
Diane, while you're right there.
Yeah.
We gotta change
What,
this.
what's your average on night stays? You have an average?
I'm higher than 3. So I was kind of surprised by that. I
Three
go
or-
more. Yep. During peak, I like to go,
Because we're toying with an idea possibly of.
but I have to say
X
that
amount of nights, that's why I was saying.
because my target is an older,
Clientele.
yes, is someone who's basically mom and dad with their parents, possibly and older children. But the trends are more towards a shorter stay. And actually that, God bless you,
Thank you.
that actually benefits the town financially more to have a shorter stay, which you understand that, right? That a shorter stay benefits the town more because you're having more turn of what I call inventory in that house. Okay.
I
So
wouldn't see how a minimum amount of nights would do anything other than just
it kind,
help hurt you guys.
it kind of
I mean, if
is what
someone's
it
a good
is.
person, they're gonna be a good person, whether they're there for
Mhm.
one night or they're there for
It
10.
kind of is what it is. It's basically the vacation trends and
Yeah,
they're
because like they
trending
just
towards
said-
a shorter
Well, it
stay.
seems like
Just
a lot
handcuffs
of
you.
our problems come out of the people with the Friday and Saturday night type people that leave on Sunday morning. A couple of nights stay. The house is opened up. They put, they rent it for 3 people and come Saturday, here comes 20 more.
You can do that just very quickly. My booking says that I'm absolutely firm in limiting occupancy
Yeah.
to the number of people on
You did a good
booking
job.
and those on the lease.
And I think
Everything everybody's
rail,
talking about comes right back to why we're here. right?
Yeah.
yeah, rails
Yeah.
business he's been doing has been taking care of that. and He does.
We're gonna take a break so we can change this.
Yeah.
Time to take-
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Ty.
The other thing with Jim was when
We gotta
he,
stop.
oh,
You
We
can,
gotta
doesn't mean you gotta
stop.
go. We just gotta change the disc because it's recording.
I, one more thing about Jim's.
Nope.
Yes.
We gotta get some of the people that are on.
Which is 2, I think.
See, even like, somebody comes in, like, it's Saturday and Sunday.
They are
And then
fixed.
you might get somebody else who wants to come in Wednesday, Thursday. Why?
You think you're one? Sit up here.
If you limit people, then you can't do it.
It comes out 4 ways, but.
Blowing on you.
I just think we have to sit down and discuss this, and I'm gonna put a plan in.
Oh, nobody's disagreeing with that.
I think that,
There's a lot of things that have to go on. And we're just
I think the whole one
getting closer.
proper property managers are the key. management of the property.
Oh, in Rail's
He's what Rail
case,
does.
in Rail's case, he's taking properties that the owners aren't locally around.
Yep, and exactly
Okay.
that's what we're aiming
You
at.
have Diane and the other couple back there taking care of their properties right here in town.
I also manage properties for owners as
Okay.
well, and I rent their unused weeks.
So, you know, but I'm saying,
Mhm.
here's
All right.
two different, well,
All right.
you're also taking
All
care
right, we're
of.
back on. So
You
you
know
have
what I'm
anything
saying?
else? Because I have a couple of people up there want to speak.
Okay.
Thank
Just-
you.
Just
Look
quickly.
ahead, you get something else?
Yeah, I just have quickly, Mr. Niles had mentioned that a lot of the local municipalities are worried about the sense of community and who will be the volunteer firemen. As I said, I just feel like that's kind of somewhat erroneous in this market because a lot of these properties, as these people have pointed out, they're seasonal. They're not year-round residents. They're also not first-time home buyer properties. And most people who would be involved as, firemen or EMTs, that type of thing, you're looking, that's kind of generally a younger person, right? So those are not these properties. These properties also, if they were to be sold in this market, would probably be sold to someone who's here 30 days or less. That's correct. Or if they did, they couldn't live in them because they're not year round. They're seasonal camps. They're not heated. They're not insulated sometimes. But also too, the lakefront properties, that's not a first time homeowner. It's not affordable. They'll be sold to someone who has a second home, and that's what's been happening. And that's just the fact. You can check with real estate agents in the area, and that's what they'll tell you. If they're not scooped up by an investor who's looking to rent it short term, they're going to be purchased for cash by someone who's got access to their 401k, and they can take out that cash and put cash down, and they're 59 and a half, so, or older. So that's not your
That's
volunteer
still-
fireman.
That's still a problem we have to deal with, even if you're correct.
I understand, but that doesn't mean that regulating
All
against
right, we have
short-term
to-
rentals is the solution
The
to it.
debate is over right now.
Thank you.
We got our time in.
Thank
Who's
you.
on there? Who's the first one? Barb and Rick? Rich?
Rit.
Hi, yeah, that's me. I'm Richard Veneris. I've been a part-time resident of Lake Luzerne for over 15 years, and having been born and raised in Saratoga County, I'm actually looking forward to retiring and spending my time in Lake Luzerne with my wife. As a small business owner, I understand the economics of what businesses mean to the local community, and as someone who's worked in the hospitality area growing up there, I understand tourism is the lifeblood of the local economy. But I think what people are missing, in some of the discussion here is that this is about a quality of life. And when you buy a home, it's not just a home, you're really buying into a neighborhood. And when you look at that, making that your home, no one wants to buy a house next to a landfill. No one wants to buy a house next to a bar or an event space. So when an Airbnb pops up in your neighborhood, you never know what you're going to get. And, someone who's, lives next to one of the Airbnbs that Ms. Powers has, it's loud music. It's people smoking marijuana. It's a party at times. And I'm not saying everybody's like that, but you do get that at times. And when it's a neighborhood, you can go talk to your neighbor if you know them. But when you live next to an Airbnb, it's like a box of chocolates, except it's not something good like chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get. And when you take away that sense of having neighbors, I think you really lose that sense of community. Who wants to live next to somebody that they don't know, or they don't know what's going on? And having, lived next to these an Airbnb and seen the Airbnb community grow, I know they're spending money, but it just doesn't seem to make sense that, if they're really putting that level of money, putting $2 million in the community, you'd still have the Waterhouse restaurant. You still have the Upriver Cafe. So to me, I understand the economics. I understand, this helps the town, but I think you really need to consider the quality of life, and dollars are great to have, but you don't have a community without the people. And this really needs some regulations or guidance here, where this town, can turn into a big, hotel. And as a board, I want to know, is that something you would be okay with? Looking at, just a very transient population coming in and out of a community like this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Who's the next one? Joe Blanco.
Hi there. My name is John Blanco. I am not a resident in town, but my partner and I have recently been shopping for homes in the area. So I just want to preface this by saying that I'm generally supportive of regulations for short-term rentals. A little bit of context on myself and my situation. So my partner and I are first-time home buyers. We're a young couple. And one thing that we are looking for in purchasing a home is that, we like to travel. We enjoy being able to, we also work from home, like a lot of young people do. We live a more transient lifestyle. So having short-term rentals as a possibility wherever we live is something that is important for making homes affordable to ourselves, especially as a first-time home buyer. It seems to me, I've been doing my best to follow the conversations in this town in particular, but it seems to me that the general regulations make a lot of sense in terms of safety and quality of life things. Something that does seem sort of counterintuitive and even hostile towards residents of the own town that do already live in town is zoning regulations. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me personally to be restricting Airbnbs to certain areas within the town. And as a prospective home buyer, that has even made me really, really hesitant to purchase a home in a place like Luzerne if, next year I may not be able to have that as an option for myself. Me personally, I plan to live in this home. Like I don't want to be renting it out all the time, right? I want a place to live and live my life and be happy. But for me, if let's say 3-4 years down the line, I decided I wanted to use this part-time as a short-term rental, some of the ideas that were floated for zoning would completely restrict that, or grandfathering rather. For residents who have lived in this town their whole life, if you decide in 5 years from now that you would also like to become a short-term renter for your property and make an income from that, and maybe you are living somewhere like Florida in the winter, that seems like that could be a really big issue if the town decided to fully restrict Airbnbs in certain zones and you miss the grandfathering period. For my partner and I, the areas that we have been looking in are the HR zone, which it has been floated to, fully restrict new Airbnbs that aren't grandfathered in, which would mean that if we bought our house today and we would have to start Airbnb our house right away if we wanted that to be a viable option down the line. So I just wanted to point those things out. And thank you everyone for your thoughtful conversation so far.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we all have your letter that you sent Friday on our desk. So thank you for speaking out on it.
Thank you.
Who else? That's all? All right. Anybody else? Yes.
Dick Rudenko with Davern Drive. I'm the one who obtained all those signatures, and I could have gotten a lot more in these residential areas. And a lot of these people, they are worried about the crowds and their kids and the strange faces. And over by the middle school, I was talking to a lady Friday. She said, right back of the house. She said, right back of the house, they had a case a weekend. They had 20 people in there, 20 people. And she's got photos of this, 74 bags of garbage, 74. And this is what you might have been alluding to, Jane. Getting a report on it. And there's people, were taking the garbage and going down through the neighborhood and putting them into empty garbage cans of neighbors. And I talked to some of these families, like I said, they're really worried. I could have gotten 200 names. I got like 50 some names there. Really quick to sign that. After reading that petition.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you know, you brought up garbage up. I know how much garbage I put out and I know my cans.
Yeah,
This
Yeah.
Monday, the garbage department left a whole bag on the side because it had C and D in it, and I didn't put it in there.
Yeah.
But they can't pick up
People
C and
working
D.
across the road.
Somebody went, like you just said, went by and just dumped it in there,
yeah.
and the guys left to take.
But this woman said she has photos of that.
Yeah,
She has
yeah.
photos.
And that's some of the stuff that we're trying to.
Yeah.
Somebody's setting you up, Gene.
Yeah.
But
You got
that,
construction going on right on Church Street there for a couple of weeks, so.
Yeah.
That's not hard to do.
but
All
that's
right,
in the
well,
residential area.
We understand your problem.
Okay.
That's one of the, and these people that sign this, I know a lot of them, and they are scared. They're worried, just like the other gentleman just spoke.
Yeah.
They bought a house in a nice quiet area. Now all of a sudden, a couple of Airbnbs are popping up. But if
Right.
they're regulated a little bit and they have people like these two and other people there, we could all live together.
They're probably not, it's private, yes.
It could happen. I mean, you still have problem here and there, but just give us some time to come up with what
Work
we-
on
we
something
feel is gonna be-
residential area.
Yeah.
The HR.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, Ms. Jackie.
Hi, my name is Janet Tracky. I have property down on Bay Road that fronts on the river. The adjacent property to us is a short-term rental. And for the most part, we really haven't had any trouble with the people there, except for the landowner has told his folks that come to rent that they can park on our property. He's never asked us. We've never given him permission. Matter of fact, we went to the point of putting a barricade across our driveway and putting private property on it. So then what do? They drive to the end of the property. We're on a corner. They come across Traverse Street and they drive all the way across our property, across our septic system, across our leach field and park there. And I mean, you know, I've heard the pros and cons here. I don't know that I have actually formulated a complete opinion yet, but definitely these property owners need to be responsible. There should probably be in your rules and regulations you're making, definitely see a parking regulations as to how many cars could be there. And at one point last year, we haven't seen as many people there this year, but last year, this is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath property. There were 32 people there. Now, I don't know what the septic system looked like, but you know, I mean, there definitely at least has to be some good regulations. And I liked Rail's idea of having a point of contact at the town for this purpose. Because it would be nice to know when you do have issues with an adjacent property or one in your neighborhood, that you know who to call. And you know, when you call that person, that there's going to be action. So
That's
Very-
great for your
yes.
comment.
that's all I have to say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's, I think I'd like to say that's our concern too. We want to protect people, neighbors and everybody else too, their interests.
All right, anyone else? Well, I appreciate everybody coming. Anybody out? My last comment? Karen, you have anything to add to this? All right, so this part of the meeting is gonna be closed and we have to get into just the town business right now. You're all welcome to stay. But we'll close this part of this for these short-term rentals.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Before we start over there.
You'll like the.
No,
like the.
The points here.
Your end. Right there. So. Every year you should. That's the problem. We're gonna have. And that's what we don't want to do. Is we've lived our whole lives and we understand. This.
We didn't even put an agenda out for this meeting.
You know, shit's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
the key is to eliminate it from happening on a basis.
Yeah,
Just like I said, most of the time we hear, oh, it's a 2-bedroom house and here's 40 people.
I never got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, it was after it was two.
Yeah. Well, I like to,
That's
like
what
to
it
pick your
all
mind
is.
more, because that's about someone who's a man. Because
No, I mean, there's no legal cutoff.
none of this on the Long Island.
48 hours, 2 hours, 24 hours.
She sent she did get our new and improved, standard workday rental at home, and she put that up there.
Bring us a copy of it.
And she
Would
got
you?
the notice
Would you
of
do
the
that for me?
Thanks, Rail.
But
I really would appreciate it.
You know, all we're
Yep.
not trying to eliminate it
No.
or anything like that. And, we got a draft here as an example, and you being on the other board. Okay,
You have a unique perspective in this. And you're doing it right now.
hey. Contact less than a half. Yes. Okay, that's very
Half
important.
hour or less. Mhm.
Yeah,
It's gonna be someone who's capable.
you get the notion he's trying to drum up business.
He's got a good model to draw from. I'll tell you that.
You know I'm always.
I don't know.
Work smart.
Give me a copy of it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Thanks, Rail.
You got that. Thank you, Rail. Appreciate it.
Yeah, drop that off. You can drop it off of mine, you know where I live. Or give it to your father. He likes coming up and bothering.
Take care, Rail.
Thanks, bud.
We appreciate it, Rail. Thank you. Good resource, Drew. Absolutely. Yes.
So, I don't know, someone get nine.
These people,
Hear back from.
she's doing great. It sounds like the people behind her. are doing great. They're managing their property. The ones we're clearing. County. Yeah, they're going out. Yeah. That is not going to be a situation. That is within the owner of the property. How you doing today, Patricia?
Good, just want to let Stan know that I'm gonna stay.
Oh, the heck with Stanley. Tell him to go home. Shut the thing off, Stanley.
I'm staying for a little while, Stan.
She's on her way home. Relax.
Yeah. What do you want to discuss? Yeah. Well, we're gonna move forward with it, and do 1, 2, or 3, and get it all. Sure.
Paul, I just sent you a little note.
Oh, thank you.
All right, we just have one thing, we're working on something with the dam. And we're trying to settle a little problem with that, so I'm gonna turn it over to your attorney to let him explain it to you.
Yeah, so I guess I'd say what I'd sent out in the email on Friday evening with 3 options based on the fact it's just a time and materials quote.
Yep.
That I guess one of those 3 options is going to be the right fit based on the board's comfort level. Moving forward with the quote as it is, like you said, probably from a timing perspective. the fastest. It's got more risk associated with it from a procurement standpoint. Putting it out to kind of the public bidding process, a little bit more time involved in doing that. You're covered from the standpoint of complying with the public works procurement process. Should the work exceed the 35,000. And I think, I guess, no one's able to say it, like I said, talk to the engineer, talk to Rich, who quoted the job. Nobody's able to say with any degree of exact certainty that no, the amount of time is just going to be what we had allotted. And then I guess the potential third option, I don't even know to what degree it is a solid option, but is for some town labor to fill in the role that Debrino was going to do for sandbagging. And I don't know enough details about that to be able to give any background information as to what they would be doing and what they would not be doing, and the level of kind of.
I can explain that if you want me to.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, because I thought this was done a month ago, and I talked to Rich today to make sure I clarify this. All our guys are gonna do is fill sandbags. They're not gonna put them out in the water. They're not gonna do anything. They're gonna fill sandbags at our transfer station. The county has a machine that helps fill sandbags. And then they're gonna deliver them to the dam, so his men can put it out there. So there's really no risk to them or safety issues or anything like that. Now, Rich said to me, and he gave me his number, I got it right here. I can call him on the phone and he can explain this all to you gentlemen, if you'd like to hear it.
Well, it's the same machine that the county offered to us in case of any flooding that,
Right. Yeah.
that was brought up last year.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it got misunderstood that our guys were gonna do the work in the water.
Because that's what I thought. That's what I said.
kind
What
of
I
the
said
way-
was,
You know, that's the
do they
way
have
it
the
came
time to
out in
do
the email, and I'm not blaming our attorney. Maybe I didn't explain it to him the right way, but it wasn't that. What we're gonna do, and if we get this passed tonight and the date is set because he's planning on doing it on the 15th of October, we'll start lowering the water on the 1st of October. Well, we don't have to do all the sandbags today. We can
How
do,
many we talking, Gene?
well, about a couple hundred, but.
So they were gonna charge us $17,000 to fill a couple hundred
Well,
bags of
it's gonna
sand.
take hours and that,
You know how big their shovels are?
you can help us, you're
So-
capable.
so that puts a whole different
Wasn't my
light on it.
question. It was
That's more.
just-
No,
like that's
it's
awful
man
excessive.
time, it's man time, his man time, that's so much an hour,
I think it's $375 an hour, wasn't it, Gene?
yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
The whole thing
So if it
is,
takes 2 days, well, whatever. doesn't matter.
So I mean, if you want me to call him, he'll
Get into
explain
it.
that to you. And the other thing is, it's tough with this procurement policy because there is no other companies we've tried in this area. We can go down Albany, we can down New Jersey or Pennsylvania, but all those companies are gonna charge you for having the guys here for a week or two in hotels. So it's still, it's gonna be more expensive than the way we want to do it.
So how much comes up to 35,000 if we fill the sandbags?
No, you talked to him on that. What did he say?
It's at roughly half.
You want, based on the quote here, I guess I would say this quote would have to be rewritten, because the sandbagging portion of it, if they're not going to do any part of the sandbagging, then that should just come off. We're still looking at the same issue, right? Because it's just still a time and materials issue. It's just that we're further away from exceeding 35,000. Right, so the trouble, the concern is that going through the procurement policy without public bidding is that if it's going to exceed $35,000 and we haven't solicited bids, we'd run afoul with the state and our own procurement policies. So what we're doing essentially, if the town does the sandbagging and that doesn't incur an expense, we're just making, giving kind of an extra, whatever it is, $17,000 cushion.
well, the whole thing
Exactly.
is, if we don't go ahead and get something together, basically, tonight or by next week, we're gonna miss the season because we're gonna be deep, you know, in regards to heading into the colder weather.
Would you like me to call? this
So the
gentleman
next-
And talk to him?
No. So the next time we'd be able to do it would be next fall.
Or early spring, but then spring.
Early spring, you got your,
You got the water's gonna be constant, be worse.
it's gonna be
And the only
worse.
reason I'm not pushing it, I just want to get it done, is that we can go out and get the 3 bids, and if they come from New Jersey, you're gonna pick,
You'd have to have somebody write up a scope.
you know.
You'd
go
have to
out
pay an
there.
engineer to write up the scope.
Well, where did we get this? How did we get this bid? We didn't have a scope written up for this bid?
Yeah, we had this, this guy came up,
Jim?
we had it.
It's
basically.
from his engineering report, isn't it?
Engineers,
Right.
from the
So we
engineers.
have that report, right?
He had the, yeah.
Right, so why would we need to start from ground zero again? If we did go out to bid? I don't know, I'm asking you or Jim, I don't know.
No, the ground zero to go out to bid, you're gonna get bids, we can't
No,
get
no,
any.
he
in this
said you'd
area.
have to come up with a whole new scope and all that stuff.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to get more people come up and look at the dam
That's,
time.
no, that's not what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
Jim said we'd have, say what you said again, Jim.
Yeah, the report it's a report. It doesn't say how much would you charge us for 20 of these and 50 of those and 75 of those. And we'd have to have a scope written up that they're gonna bid on. It would be more construction detailed than the report is.
Well, how did he come up with it? If he doesn't know.
He
came up with that.
picked it, I think that's one of the reasons he's bidding time and materials. It's kind of mushy.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going with it.
But every one of them will do that. It's that kind of job. It's just not building a car or building, you know.
Mhm.
But I'll go with, I just want to make a decision to let this guy know not to hold that date open. And if we want to prolong it, that's,
For whatever it's worth, and it's not worth much, guys. I worked with Debrino on a big project probably 15 years ago. And they were really good to work with. Are they still good? I don't know. I don't want to stick my neck out, but I hired them to do probably $400,000 or $500,000 worth of work on the Dutchess County Jail. And I don't even know if the same owners are there, but at that point in time, they were good people.
It's my only concern was if our employees at grounds or highway had the time to
Good point. Yeah.
actually cut out to do this. And if they do, then I'm okay with it. If they don't, I don't want to put Ron or
Who would we ask, Ron or Rick?
probably be Rick. They did the sandbagging last time in 2018 when we did that.
How long it taken to fill all those bags? Do you remember?
I never kept track of that. I don't.
They didn't do no 200 bags, trust me.
No, because the
back then.
water is low there. It might not even be 200, it could be 100. We don't
Price of
know.
water right now over
So
there.
then,
is a
with
foot
that
high.
said, is that really gonna subtract enough money off of that bid that we're gonna have the safety net that we're looking for?
Well,
If
that's what I'm
it's-
saying. You want me to call the guy and let him talk to us
Does
and
he
say
know?
yes? Huh?
Would he know?
I imagine he would. He knew
I
how
mean,
many,
We're gonna be in a hell of a spot if we hit that $35,000 mark and he's not done yet.
Hey, get him on the phone.
I mean, I sent that email out the other day. I got no response, but it hit every one of these points that I'm asking right now. So I'm gonna continue to ask until I'm assured I'm not voting for something that's gonna put us in jeopardy or the taxpayers or the dam without knowing the answer.
well, people were in jeopardy thinking the dam was gonna collapse last year. Made a big issue about that, but
Who's to
that's not,
say it isn't?
that's not finished yet, believe me.
Well, by
But
the road.
do what you want, gentlemen. Vote on it. Let's get it done. So this gentleman could book somebody else in the time frame that we have set up. And if it doesn't, don't happen, it don't happen this year.
I think, Gene, that we gotta get back to that gentleman and find out how much of a subtraction there would be in regards to sandbagging. Okay. So we can figure out the whole rest of the thing.
Where did you get that information, Attorney Crow, that it would take roughly half of the quote away by us doing the sandbagging?
I removed the line item that was attributed to sandbagging.
And that's what the value was, about 17,000.
Yeah, I mean,
But we gotta clarify, is that them placing the bags and filling them?
so
Or
the
is it
quotation,
us
It
filling
says,
the bags and they're placing them.
$3.75 an hour. Estimated completion time 32 hours. So,
That's for the whole process, Mike, the filling them and placing them?
yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Again, that's something that I'd want the engineer to weigh in on. I didn't want Debrino to weigh in on. I'm not in a position to be able to say how much, what the scope of work is, what the sandbagging consists of. I can just tell you that if you run over 35 grand,
Right. We're in trouble.
yeah, without properly bidding it, you've stepped out of compliance with the procurement policy. If removing that if we no longer need sandbagging as part of the quote, then that portion of it, all of a sudden is not whatever amount of money that you would be spending.
I understand. I know what you're saying, Mike, and
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be abrasive to you, but is sandbagging including just filling them or filling them and placing it?
I don't know.
We don't want to remove the placement of them. I
Why
mean,
don't you let me call the guy? Let him answer that question
Call
for
him
you,
up.
Mike.
Call them up.
Let him ask you.
Yeah.
Let him answer. He told me he would take
what do you
my
tell you,
call.
Gene, when you talk to him?
Let him tell you. Because you don't believe anything I tell you anyway. so.
Track record speak for itself.
It'd be good to hear, to hear him and see what he says.
You getting that out there? Is he coming through?
Hello.
Hey, Rich, Gene Marino, Lake Luzerne.
Hey, how
Are we here? Are we hearing?
Yes.
I can hear it.
I have my board here and the one, I think the one stickling question they want to know is what would be the difference in the price that we had discussed that our town would fill the sandbags and bring them over to the dam for your men to place them? Because they're just trying to figure out, going over the procurement money that we can't spend any more than a certain amount if we don't bid it out, like, and I told them, you've already helped me give me a name of another company, and they never called back. And otherwise, we're not gonna, we'll have to put it out to bid some further out places. So if you can help me with that, please let me know.
right now or when?
Well, I'd
Tomorrow.
like to know now. If not, you want to send
Well,
us an email tomorrow, figure it out. We'll have to hold off another couple of.
Gene,
Yes.
It's all about, it's, how long it's gonna take. I mean, if the water's low, we might not even have to sandbag anything but the spillway, So if we don't know if we can do it from the front face. So what I'm saying is we might not need, like I could say to you, make me 300 sandbags, but I might not, if the water's low this coming fall, we don't know what the weather's gonna be. I mean, if it's high, I might need 500, So there's no, I can't answer that question. I mean, yeah, we might have no sandbags except at the spillway. That's, if we can drill and grout from downstream, main thing is if there's not that much pressure. If there's not that much pressure of water, we can do a lot of the work from downstream without this issue. And, if you would like a solid rock number, I will give it to you. And if we don't do it, we'll just credit it, But that's, we could have we could have a week of rain and the thing could be a foot high, the lake better than probably most.
Well, the lake will go down to about 6 to 8 inches water wise when we drain it.
Right.
But it could go up to a foot, like you say.
I'm just saying in a week, you get a week of rain and I'm scheduling this to happen,
Mhm.
I mean, I can't answer that. That's, Mother Nature. But if we can do it with just sandbagging the area of the spillway and only a couple little spaces, I would say you could cut that number sandbagging down, to just say 10, 12 hours compared to whatever was listed on there.
So 10,
You know,
12 hours would be a lot less.
And again, if
Yeah, I understand.
for
I
any reason, I would,
understand.
if we don't do any sandbagging, that's all credit back, we're not out to rip anybody off. We just have to, if my guy makes the decision, Rich, I can't drill it from below, from the downstream face back towards the upstream face. then, we have to do some bagging, but. So that's, I don't know if that answers your question or, if. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
just
Making
thinking.
notes.
All right,
Thinking.
then what we'll do is we'll discuss it amongst ourselves now and I'll get back to you in the morning.
All right, sorry, Gene, I'm sorry I'm not helpful.
No problem. No, you're doing
Thank you.
fine. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You
Yep.
too, sir.
All right, bye.
So it's a matter of how long's a piece of string. He doesn't know what the weather, everything he says is very valid, and very true. We don't know.
Now, if there was a big storm, Gene, how long would it take the lake to get back down to the acceptable level that he would be most efficient on?
It'd be just the way it is today, right to the spillway.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. So how could we say that it's gonna be so much deeper? It would require 500 bags, or if he waited a couple days for it to drain out before he did it, it would be.
Cause
But
he's
you
got a
don't
time
know,
factor coming
Well,
in.
that's what I'm asking. I don't know. No,
You're
it's-
booking a guy to come in with his equipment and stuff. That's part of the doing business. It's kind of a, we can't pump the water out fast
No,
as
no,
it comes in.
I don't know why you're getting so defensive.
I'm not
really
getting
asking.
defensive, Mike. I'm just trying to explain to you. You're the one that's making it a problem. All right?
Well, I just like the facts before I.
You
vote,
like
right?
the facts.
Because we don't want to get in trouble with going over that 35,000. I don't understand why you're mad, but if it rains, can they wait a day and let the lake, go down a little bit, or I don't know.
That's obvious. It would be running out as it's raining.
Right, so
Once we get it-
how could we get in that bad position where
You
it's so
can.
high?
That's what he's trying to, you can if it's a 3-day tornado storm.
Yeah.
But once we get it to the lowest level possible, it can rain 2 inches. That 2 inches is gonna go right out because it's already down. I said enough. Make a decision so we can move on, close the meeting.
It's kind of a crapshoot no matter which way.
It
you
is.
go.
It would be for any company you brought in, even to bid it in a company, they're gonna bid the same way.
The only difference is if we take the time to go out the bid in regards to procurement and everything else. Okay, and it does go over that factor. We have protected the town and ourselves.
Well, if you're doing a time and material bid, all you're really gonna bid is the amount of hours, how much you're gonna get paid an hour, right? It's, nobody can say, well, I'll do it.
We
in
can't
10 hours.
do
You
it.
can't,
It's the bad time.
Right,
It's
that's
time
what I'm
and
saying.
material, you know.
So if we do a lot of sandbagging, if we don't, okay, if we have the sandbags sitting there with our crews, we do the sandbagging. And he just draws off what he needs for it. Let's say we have a stock of 500 and he takes off, I mean, what are we out? Dump the sand back. And then we go, see, that's what I'm trying to get my head around.
Well, he was starting with 200.
Yeah,
If
and I
the
get what
water
he
was
was saying.
high.
He doesn't really know. He doesn't know. Could rain, you know? I'm looking at, is a sandbagging. It seems to me it'd be more or less if our guys did all the sandbags and he just draws off the sandbags he needs and we just.
Make sure
Be
they're there.
prepared to have a appropriate amount or be prepared to dump a lot of sand out. And if our men are doing it. I don't know how much that really is skin off our.
What's his
hands to
estimated
take.
time? I can't remember.
What's that?
3 days or 4?
You had 32 hours on the sandbag.
Okay, 32.
32 hours and it's still a
So
lot
that's
of
4
time.
days.
You know, he's paying someone. to
Great
sandbag
almighty, you
for
could almost
32 hours.
block off.
And that's at $375 an hour, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
I think our.
It's 12 grand, Mike.
Yeah, our buildings and grounds
What's
could
that, Jim?
sandbag as much as he wants.
That's 12,000.
12,000, yeah.
And we're paying them by the hour as it is. So if they're sandbagging or raking, they're still making the same wage an hour. So if he needs a certain amount for the time, like you said, with the way the stream is flowing, then I think. I see us saving money doing it with our men. I just,
The whole key is what happens if we go over that figure?
yes,
Michael?
exactly.
Sorry, what happens if we go over that figure?
Of the 35?
Yes.
Again, you're gonna be out of compliance with the procurement policy if that comes up in some sort of audit. It could be a potential liability if somebody else were to say that this should have gone out to bid, they would have had an opportunity to bid the job. So that's a lot of, there's hypotheticals or, nothing could happen. It's
But
It's
all
hard
you
to
have
say
to have
exactly.
is one other person
What's that?
that's in this line of work.
Right.
If it goes over that figure, he's gonna come back and could file paperwork against the town.
That's a possibility, right?
Why couldn't we stop if we start to approach that number?
Well, let him do what he can get done.
Yeah,
We could do that too.
Well, you can't leave it sandbagged.
I know.
You
No,
can't
but
do
we can
that.
pull- No. Let's say he's getting close to the side. And he's got 10 feet or 15 left to go, and we don't do it this year.
Then you take all the sandbags out and then say re-sandbag it again.
Yeah, I guess
Next year.
that's
Yeah,
what
it's
we
not-
do.
it's not very efficient.
No,
Well, I'm just saying.
Crow, what do you think our best bet? You think, but then again, we go to public bidding, then we're like Dean said, now we're drawing a crew out of Jersey, we're drawing a crew out of Massachusetts, and it's gonna add, it's a,
I mean,
The only good thing on
we don't
that,
know, nothing, we don't know there either. We're gonna get a bid.
we know if we get other bids, you're gonna be from all over the United States.
Yes.
Number two, more than likely, they're going to be higher because they gotta
Yes.
put their men up. Number three, we're protected that we've taken the least expensive.
yeah, but if they're hired, then they don't get the job anyways. It's gonna. get
Doesn't
lower
matter.
spend. It does matter. That's why we're going out for bid.
But we protected the town. in
Exactly,
regard- That is
exactly.
correct. That's the whole key.
That's the thing, yeah. It's not like we're gonna hire them if they're significantly higher or higher at all. So we can come for whatever the hell they want. It doesn't matter.
That is correct. And we might not even have a bid.
What if we don't get any? Do we default to the one that we have now? Or is it still run into the truck situation or whatever?
yeah, I mean, if DeBrino doesn't put in a bid, is that what you're saying?
No, if we go with like option two, and we didn't get no traction from any other companies.
Yeah, I guess
What is the minimum?
You'd be
what's the
betting
minimum
on-
length of time, Mike?
you'd be betting on DeBrino putting in a bid, right? So you would send the specs to them, asking them more or less to kind of send you this back, with all the other paperwork.
What's the minimum we have to put this out for bid for and everything?
Of course, he would bid worst case, which would be 500 bags.
Yeah,
I think putting the specs and the bidding stuff together would probably be the longest. I don't know what that would be because again, now we do need some specifics from the engineer as much as we can get in terms of what the exact scope of work is going to be. In terms of it being out to bid, I don't know that there is a minimum. But I want to say it was like maybe at least a week. So that's something that I can look into, but I don't know that the minimum time that you're waiting for bids to come in is probably not the most time consuming part of the process.
Preparing it.
Yeah. So getting Chazen or Labella to kind of put this into language that a contractor is going to be able to submit their quote on with kind of the knowledge that they can comfortably say, here's the quote, in essence, they got to create the blueprints.
We did on when they gave us the final.
I mean, I'd say the report,
They told every spot that had to be done. So
Okay.
the guy came up and he looked at all those spots. He made his decision on that.
yeah,
What more would we have to do?
we need that, I guess, what DeBrino did with Chazen to come up with the quote. We need that more or less put into a narrative format by the engineer.
Would we be going out for a fixed price or a time and material bids?
I
We can
guess,
go time and material as long as it's not to exceed price.
which is what I said 2 weeks ago.
That is correct.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if Mr. DeBrino's right. I don't know if we get any bids for fixed price. There's too many unknowns.
Jim, you've been, like you said, you've done things like this, you worked with them before. What is your honest opinion? What do you feel?
Well, I guess I'm in agreement that I'm not really wild about breaking state law.
Yeah, no one.
For-
That's my biggest-
But on the other hand, I'd like to get that done this fall, and I don't know if we'll get a better price. I'm on the fence, Tim.
Okay.
When I saw Attorney Crow's idea that, or whoever's idea it was, that we could do the sandbagging, I figured, yeah, there we go.
Hmm.
But
Well, the only other thing we can do is actually put it out to bid, like you said, with a maximum of $35,000.
well, if you go out to bid, you're soliciting bids. There isn't an upper level.
No,
You
I
can't put a
excuse me.
max on it.
Let me restate that.
Yeah.
Give it to the gentleman that's already bid it. Okay, with a maximum of 35,000. That would be the only other way we could do it and still be safe. In my eyes, I think we gotta play the game and put it out for a set of specs and probably do the injection for next year. Excuse me, I can put that. That's my feeling. If anything else we do, we're playing the game.
Yes, I agree with it.
one thought that's going through my mind, this probably doesn't matter, but properly managed time and material contracts typically give the customer the best value. Improperly managed time and material contracts typically give the customer the worst value. If we're keeping track of things.
That there's a max, which a lot of them don't have, but still you don't want to hit it or go over it, right?
Yeah.
It's not a typical open-ended time and material quote where it can just go on forever, but we don't want to hit that ceiling either, because then we're in trouble.
Have me saying to go with us doing the bagging, but there's a big responsibility protecting the taxpayer in the town legally. We have to be very, very conscious of that.
I'd be all right with that if we have some way to keep good tabs on them.
Mm-hmm.
They have to pull the plug. We get up to, we get up to 30 grand. We say, hey, can you finish it for 5 more? The answer is no, then we made a mistake. We have to stop.
To continue the work next year. This could be a seasonal, that could also be Father weather is gonna play obviously gonna play a big part in this. We could have a fall like last year where it rained every day. We don't know. We just don't know.
A word that would come into play if we did that is the cost to mobilize. Because we'd be asking him to leave when the job's not done, and he would want mobilization money to come back whenever.
We wind up spending more in the long run for sure.
Yeah, probably.
What's your feeling, Mike?
Well, the reports that we've gotten on the dam and
What do
everything.
you feel, Mike? I mean, do you feel we should go to option 2 or? I'd
I
love
wish
to
I
go to
knew
option
more
3.
about-
I'd
I don't
love
know a
to.
lot about the process. I'm just crunching the numbers, you know what I mean? I'm not pretending I know how to caulk a dam. I don't. But I know it seems awful vague what he said. He doesn't know what he thinks we need anyway. I would ask him to estimate it at the lake at its lowest level, because that's like Gene said, if we get 2 inches of rain within a day or two, it's going to be back down to that level anyway. So why are we talking 500 sandbags when he said if it's at its lowest level, you would only need 100. Right? I mean, I think that's kind of what he said, if any,
I think that's all we had. Less than that last time.
yeah, and he did it by hours, which didn't quite add up either. It was $12,000 for the sandbagging when you do the math, but on there he said, Mike, it was 17.
I just did 32 hours at 375.
Yeah, that's 12,000. But yeah.
Well, guys, let's make a decision.
What do you think, Jay? What do you think?
I can't take that. Let's go out the bid. We'll have to do, and we'll wait till next year. And see what, you're gonna get a bigger bid in my mind, because it has to go further out. Then you talk about workers in the hotel and food. That adds some cost. I talked to the guy at Lent when we were walking. I talked to him at Lent a couple of times. He's even said when he went back to get his engineers the information, they told him they might be able to do it. Like, start if they can, but they don't know. There's nobody's gonna say, yeah.
Can we ask him if he would put verbiage in there that 35 would be the maximum that he would charge?
I'd like to do that, and I think he'll keep it up.
It keeps it easy, right? If
Let's-
you can't charge us a dime more than 35,000, then
Let's talk to him, reconsult with him, quick, like, and say, hey, how do you feel about
Because I
this?
think he's got this padded for problems.
of course he does. yeah.
He has to,
So let's do that. Ask him if he'll sign an agreement
That-
that 35,000 is.
Yeah, like tomorrow, just, you'll translate to him our concerns about it, which are legitimate. It's not about him, it's about, just, know. And if he's comfortable with doing that, capping at 35. I'm fine with
It just comes down to doing things the correct way, right?
Yeah.
It's-
What do you guys think about, putting a resolution or whatever it's called, motion together to go ahead with a do not exceed 35, and we do the sandbag production. Then if the guy says he can't do it, then he can't do it, can't sign a contract.
And we'll go out to bid.
All that does is save another meeting.
I agree with that. I like that, but we have to do something. Like Gene said, we have to make this happen.
Go out that way.
Yeah, so the thought there is that the project would come in at under
Under
35.
35,000.
And we'll do the sandbags.
So we'll do that. We'll
We'll
fill
fill
it.
them. Yeah, we won't place it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll make that
I'll-
motion.
So we
I'll
can-
second it.
You got a motion in a second.
You got a motion?
Yes. Jim seconded it. Mike made the motion.
All right, you wanna call the
Capped
roll?
at 35.
You're gonna create the resolution.
Yeah.
If he agrees to it, right? If the guy
I'll call him
agrees
to See
to
if
it,
he agrees to, that's all the word
Say
is.
that.
Yes
There
or
we
no?
yeah, then if not, we'll go a different direction. So
All right.
Councilman Hanlon,
Yes.
Councilman Lewandowski.
Yes.
Councilman Fazio.
yes.
Supervisor Molino.
Yes, thank you.
You got Mr.
Mr.
Niles.
Niles.
Oh, he can't vote.
Yes.
No, you can't vote.
He can't vote over the,
Really?
no,
Yes, you can.
Law last week.
Oh, that's right.
that's. state
Yeah.
law.
Well, it doesn't matter, but you can.
Wave your hand. Don't say anything.
So at least we got progress forward.
I make a motion, we say goodnight.
No, hang on.
Wait.
Cindy,
Because I want to just mention that, because we're apparently having some communication problems getting our stuff to our web girl, Jamie. And if you could ask her, instead of calling you, to see if you could give her the agenda, she should call Lori, who's trying to get it.
She
to her.
has. She's called Lori. She called her last week and asked her.
But Lori called her today. So I mean, she might be busy, didn't get the call, but that way you're not the middleman on this if we're trying to communicate.
This was over
back
the
and
weekends and
forth.
when the office wasn't open. That's why she was concerned that it wasn't posted in time for the
Yeah.
public or whatever to be able
Well,
to
same
disseminate.
here, because
Sure.
if we can't,
But I didn't
I
get an
don't know,
agenda for
but
tonight.
you don't have.
Did you get one for tonight?
What's that?
Did you get an agenda for tonight's meeting?
Yeah, it's
In the email, I mean.
Not,
No, not an email.
no, because she sent it to the website.
Good.
You had the notice of the meeting.
I got that.
We had the standard workday resolution that she got,
Got that.
but she didn't get the agenda, such as it is, it's just little.
Yeah.
She didn't get that, and she didn't get Lori's phone call, apparently. I mean, I don't know, but we do have an issue again, apparently with the computers, and Pam Moran's had a long-standing issue. And Chris LaFountain is difficult to get here. I have long-standing issues with him upgrading some of my things, and he acknowledges it. It's no, you know, he knows it, but
Doesn't help.
doesn't help any. So we really got to kind of work on that all the way around. The other thing, I know you got this copy of the letter from Patty Miller, but when she sent this to Jean, she said she would like to have this read and entered into the minutes. So I would like to read this. Maybe you can go on a good note.
You want to wait for the board meeting?
This is a board. Dear Town Board, we wanted to take a minute of your time to express our sincere appreciation for the dedication and commitment of Deputy Town Clerk Lori Holcomb. On several occasions, most recently 2 times in the month of August, we have run into issues with physicians not signing death certificates in sync with when the town hall is open. This can lead to delay of services for families, especially on a weekend. Both recent instances in Lake Luzerne were graciously taken care of by Lori after hours. In the first case, the family received their mother's cremated remains just in time for their memorial service. In the second instance, the deceased was here on a vacation and her daughter was able to have her back home in a timely manner for services. In our business, we are available 24/7, 365 to the members of our community. It's refreshing to us that Lori has stood up to the plate to help these families meet deadlines during their most difficult times. She's dedicated, professional, and compassionate, and we are lucky to have her. Sincerely, Michael and Patty Miller. And I'll send.
Very nice
that.
letter. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
That was very good.
Very nice.
I
Nice
have a
that she
couple of
has her
items.
own computer.
You got anything now?
I have a couple of items. I believe that Colleen emailed to you the application that we received this week for deputy supervisor, oh. Getting late, deputy zoning officer. And the gentleman was in my office and I spoke to him this week. And I'm wondering whether or not you as a board want to, before the next board meeting or at the next board meeting, do an interview from this application. And the other item that I wanted to talk to you about is taking the minutes of these meetings. When I talked to this gentleman about the position, he didn't seem to really want to do the minutes of those 2 meetings. Lori came up with an idea and we've looked into it. We've spoken with Cheryl Traver, is that her last name?
Yeah.
Traver, who is the lady that's cleaning the building. She does the books for JR's business. And we asked her if she might be interested in doing the minutes coming to the meetings and taking the minutes and transcribing them. She is interested. I explained to her what I thought you had spoken about before in the past is to the amount of money that it would be $75 a meeting. Some meetings are short, some meetings are long. It kind of averages out. The one issue is she does not have a computer at home that has Word. And so we would have to provide her something here that has the Word program on it for her to do the minutes. She would.
Does she have a computer at home?
She has a
So we
computer.
could just
at
get her
home.
a file, a copy of Word to install.
I didn't ask her that, but anyway, that was the one issue. And I think somewhere around here, we could come up with a computer if we needed to, for her to be using for that. But anyway, I wanted to bring that up and I don't know if you need to interview her, talk to her about it, because all of these appointments have to go through the board now, but we did, we maybe have found someone at least who might be able to do those meetings and the minutes. So I'll bring it back up at the agenda meeting, but I don't know if you want to interview this person or not.
I like to interview him. I know Tony. I think he'd be a fine addition.
When do you want to interview him? Do you want to interview him at the next board meeting, before the board meeting? What do you want to do?
There's that. How does everybody feel about that? I mean, I'd like to, Tony McCutcheon. I think behoove us to interview him in a timely fashion. Because for all the help that, like to help you out and to get him on board.
I agree, especially if we're gonna end up passing some kind of short-term rental regulation.
Yes.
Another pile of stuff on Karen's desk.
I will say, well, you'll know more when you interview him. I'm not gonna say any more at this point.
I'm available anytime. You guys set it up. I'll come in.
You can do it for the next
I need,
agenda.
do you want to interview him maybe like at 6:30 before the board meeting?
Yes.
Yeah,
For the agenda meeting, yes.
The
it'd be great.
agenda meeting or the board meeting?
agenda
The
meeting.
agenda meeting.
The agenda meeting?
That's the next meeting, the
Next week-
26th, I think
Next
it
week,
is.
Monday, then at 6:30.
Yes.
I'll have
that'd be
Colleen
great.
get hold of them and let him know.
Both people?
Yeah, do you want to do both? Do you want to talk to Cheryl Traver as well about taking the minutes of the meetings?
I don't
I
know.
don't know,
Have
wait
enough
and see
time.
if we decide to move forward with this guy, because that would be his responsibility. wouldn't it, to reach-
He may not want to do that.
Well, that
Oh.
will determine that in the interview, right? I mean, that's what you wanted to do, right, Karen?
Well, was one of the solutions to having someone taking the minutes was to
Let's-
make it his responsibility. He was gonna get paid extra for doing that,
Sure.
but I don't know that he wants to do that. So, but that will come out in the interview when you talk to him. So we'll just,
She's already a town employee, right?
pardon, no,
Drives bus for the high school.
he's retired.
Oh, he did retire. Okay.
No, the note-taking lady, she's already a town employee.
Yes, Mrs. Traver is.
Well, we don't need to interview her then. If she's already
Okay.
an employee of the town.
Let's bring
That's-
Tony in, okay?
Go from there.
On.
All right, I'll have
and then
Colleen
we'll
contact him and,
See what he has to say and then we'll go from there.
all right.
And then go ahead with the lady, right?
I'd say so.
Well, after you interview Tony, you
After
can
you
make
I
that
don't know if we need
decision.
him, Jim, if we need her or not, because he might want to do it. And that would be part of his.
Oh, I thought Karen said he didn't want to do it.
Well, you can determine that when you interview him.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Want to make a motion? Somebody want
Make a motion.
to have 6:30 next Monday night. Tony. Right?
Yep.
I'll second
Got
it.
a motion, second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Bye.
Aye.
Aye.